prioritize.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you do in these pick bans. I would say maybe you try your hand at giving Faker a Zir instead. And in that sense, maybe you don't have to ban the Lucian. You can target something else. But I think the Ezreal Maokai has to stay rather, and it definitely will.
Rumble gone again, Ashe gone again. I mean, this is exactly what we saw so far. See if there's a pivot here from T1 in their final ban. The Lucian will go again. And, you know, I don't think... Okay, you are going to ban the Kalista in this case. They will take that away. See if T1 opt for a different game plan here, if they're just going to go for the Corki first pick again. The Vi is available if they want to first pick that instead, play a more pick-oriented style like they did against D+.
The fact that Oner is talking about Vi, it looks like there. I thought maybe they were going to give it to him, but instead it is the Azir. I was saying they still ban the Lucian, and they say, well, this time we're just going to give Azir to Faker. Now, the issue with this is that Jovi's also a fantastic Corki player, and he was prioritizing it even against the Tristana when that was very much the meta. Corki versus Tristana every game. It's
his most picked champion this season as well by a large margin. This will be his 13th game. His next most played is Lucian at 4. So he is really indexed into this one. As you say, Canyon can pick Nidalee in almost any draft because his team wins lanes. And that's what they do. See a little bit of a flip through the jungle pool, but it will be the Vi ultimately that comes through here for Oner. Not with a traditional, AP mid that locks champions down well with it, but obviously the Azir is going to be pretty good with this too. And they'll grab the Kennen here early blind. A very difficult pick to punish because it is Zeus, of course, who's piloting it, and it does do well into all of the melee meta champions, including Cassante. It looks like Keen feels comfortable to weather the storm there and be once again a huge front line. Now's when things can really change, though, in the second banning phase. You know, Pays obviously isn't going to be playing Ezreal. Will they allow him to play Zeri? Looks like that's what they're fishing for with this Caitlyn ban. I think T1 would do well to ban it. They will actually ban the Leona first here instead.
Yeah. I mean, you think Jovi's a good Zeri. He didn't necessarily prove it in that last game, to be honest. But Pays is like, you don't really want to give that guy Zeri. So I think that's a good call out, Wolf. I think you got to ban this against this guy. Or maybe you try to target the Senna.
I mean, they have... the Kallista's gone, the Caitlyn's gone. Maybe you ban Draven here, and then you're like, you really have to ban the Zeri because T1 have had so many great answers to the Zeri lane. Ziggs, another one, right? And this is, I think, T1 saying, I want you to play Zeri because we have the answer. We have a dive comp. I'll ban Senna instead.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a Soraka Draven lane that they close this one out with. We've seen that from them already this season. It worked very well.
The issue is that you don't have counterpick for support. You know, that's why the Soraka came out in that specific scenario against the Renata. I mean, it's still a strong lane, but at the end of the day, Lehens will have the final say. And it might just be the Jhin, which is a little bit of a takeaway as well from Guma. But nope.
I think he's
just Zeri.
I think he's kind of saying, like, are you going to play Jhin into this with your really strong front line? You have the Azir engage, you have the Vi engage and Kennen, so that front line offers a lot for Jhin potentially. It isn't going to be as strong of a winning lane matchup. Draven has been played with Soraka, has been played with Nami in the past, and, you know, the Leona is banned. Ooh, the trap pick, don't do it to me, Guma.
I mean, playing Xayah into Extendo Beam and Spears and Corki Rockets.
Look at that win rate.
Just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
22%.
They didn't even pick the Rakan with it.
No.
It's understandable that they picked Nautilus into Zeri, but it's like, this just feels like a straight-up Guma pick.
Guma is one of the only players that I trust on Xayah, to be honest with you, Valdez. But even still, I'm feeling a little bit worried about this pick, as we do see the Alistair to follow up here, one of the only supports left that's good at weathering the storm here against the Nautilus. Will be able to get past the level 1 and then be a decent engage tool later on. A great front line with Keen for this area. They got the double 80 carry. The win rate across this year, I looked it up, for Xayah across 40 games in the LCK was 30%. It has been played 40 times leading up until this game because I've been one of the biggest haters of Xayah in the world. And you have to deal with poke, like you said. You have to deal with the spears. You have to deal with the extendo beam, Corki rockets, and you have a lot of ways to peel for the Xayah in this game. So it's a better angle than a lot of our teams. A lot of our teams go, there's Vi on the other side, there's a Kai'Sa on the other side. I lock Xayah no matter what, and then they end up just getting bowled over by a lot of other different forms of CC like Rakan or Kennen. They've got the Kennen on their side, So I do think this is a better angle here. And again, Guma has been a fantastic Xayah player. He's had so many famous games of it. You look back to some of our big finals, some of the big losers finals. He hasn't played it, I believe, yet this season, but it is still a strong pick for him. Played it twice so far this season, but it's, again, a niche pick. Very risky here. I like putting Faker on the Azir because the Corki, he didn't look as comfortable on it. He was caught a few times, was trying to be over-aggressive. The Azir has an extra layer of safety in his ultimate. He also has the dash. They have the Vi to set this up. They have tons of great engage to lock down this Zeri. You've got 2 AD carry threats to deal with. I think T1 have the tools. That's how they use them.
Well, let's see how they use them as we are ready to hop onto the rip for game number 2. Here we go, game 2 of T1 up against Gen G. As, take a look at this, we have got Keen with Exhaust in the top lane. We've seen this before. Just to deal with Kennen, obviously you need somebody to take it, but you don't necessarily want Lehens to have it down in that bottom lane, so you just give it to Cassante, who doesn't need Flash to do what he does best.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously helpful to have the Flash, especially if you're going to be the one who's the target. But the Exhaust will still be helpful at mitigating some of the aggression topside in dives and stuff like that he may end up dealing with in this game. I do think, when you look at the composition here of T1 and how well you can, set up an Azir ultimate into a Nautilus ultimate, Nautilus hook, Vi ult, like all of these things linking together, it's very difficult for FaZe to play the game. Not to mention the feathers as well from Xayah, which can also be layered on top of all of that. Just a ward going to get dropped here, no fight. With some additional information, we do have both junglers starting topside in the jungle. This mid matchup is definitely one we've seen a lot, especially with Tristana being nerfed. Azir rose back up in priority a lot. Definitely one that can go both ways, but Corki does still feel very strong. But more than Corki, it's Chovy. And it's a very good level 1 here for him.
Yep, just getting in Faker's face.
11-0.
Yeah, he has played it a lot of times. As you mentioned, his most played here this season by far, ahead of that Lucian that had 4 games, right? So he's going to try to hit level 2 here first as well. You see that Faker is okay in the health department, but it's because Chovy hadn't used his health pot yet, and Chovy's going to zone him away and hit level 2 first. It's just the recent power of the Corki after the changes as well, just being very obnoxious at level 1. And eventually it will stabilize.
So a very common start to this lane. The Corki kind of wraps around the river, goes along the wall, and if the Azir puts his sand soldiers up there, you can deny him farm, or if he doesn't, then you just go and push him with the Gatling gun. It's very frustrating to deal with. Faker's doing a good job, though, of spacing Chovy out now here, as they do both hit level 3, and is maintaining, at least for the moment, CS parity.
Yeah, and Faker getting in there, doing some nice poke himself. And at the end of the day, we saw Azir Corki so many times because the handshake is it's very even in this day and age. As you mentioned before, definitely very much a Guma pick. He's 20-7 here on Xayah. We just don't necessarily like it too much in this meta, but it works well with the composition at least.
Yeah, I think this is one of the better angles for it. It's I feel like a misnomer that Xayah is just good into dive because she can press R. But when there's a lot of different dive tools, you only get one R button. But in this game, you've got an Alistar, you've got a Cassante to deal with. And if the spacing is good from Guma, he may just have to ult a Cassante Q3 or something like that. But he can also follow up with his ultimate really well. It's not the awkward Xayah angle where it's a trap. Not necessarily in this case. It does feel much better. Do have Canyon down here.
Yeah, these two pushed up a decent amount, maybe looking for Lehens on the engage first. That's one way to deal with the Xayah, is just get in there before she's level 6. But it does look like Canyon's just going to back away, and we don't have any action down there on the bottom side. I expect this to be kind of a low-action game. Both sides can easily farm up for the late game, and engaging onto Kennen, Azir, Xayah sounds like a really big pain. And even diving the Nautilus as well. It just feels like Gen G's not going to have a lot of options for a really proactive early game, so just kind of farm it out, see what you can get in the mid game.
I think Canyon's role in this game is going to be to just kind of fill the gaps in the lanes that need a little bit of assistance. coming down their bottom side to try to maybe put some pressure on while Guma and Keria are abusing the early Alistair level 1. That's part of the why they had that big push. And, you know, he doesn't actually commit to anything there, but puts Vision down. Now he's top side. And Keen is getting pushed in a little bit. He's there to kind of cover that lane as well. Candy's just going to be more of a defensive facilitator because he is in Italy, doesn't really offer any form of CC or anything like that. So hard to actually kill, but can punish somebody who is pushed up too far or relieve that pressure. I think it's really Oner post 6 who's going to have a lot more power in this game. Faker shielding this.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Corki does win out. That was really cute, actually, that Canyon hit the plants to actually go into mid to clear out the ward. Just to give that extra 1 CS to Chovy. You know, he needs all the CS he can get. And he's actually looking for a champion kill as well, as Faker nearly dies to a Frost First Bomb missile combo. Meanwhile, we got a little fight down here on the bottom side. Oner is nearby as the flash goes in. They're trying to punish Lehens, but the flash away from the feathers means that Lehens will get away. And it just ends up being a little bit of a ruckus, as Ox put it.
Yeah. Okay, Zeus here down level 6.
Keen actually predicting the move to the left. Doesn't happen.
Nope. Now Zeus has 6, so the opportunity looks like it's passed. A Hex Flash is available for Lehen, so won't feel, you know, horrible about losing his flash there, but it is a nice advantage they were able to garner there in the bottom lane. Canyon rushes topside here to grab these grubs while they don't have control. Pings of question marks on the Dragon from T1. Not sure if he's actually doing that one, as they did back, so they actually don't know where he is right now. And so this is actually a huge boon. They're going to come over here and find out. Lehen's going to play bodyguard.
I think Lehens has to be very careful here, and as I say that, I think he might just die. He is extremely low, but they don't want to push into the Nidalee, but in goes Oner, and his first blood for Faker, as now trying to turn this one around is Gen G, but they only have 2 people. They're trying to take down Keria. Tons of damage between these two, and in fact, Keria will be run down as he doesn't have flash anymore as well. And both of the supports get punished.
Yeah, it's a kill going over to Faker, but it's also a kill going over to Canyon, who will utilize that gold very well. All the while on the bottom side, they didn't get Dragon, right? They came over, didn't get grubs, traded kills. Pays gets a free back while he had this wave pushed, and Guma pulls the wave a little bit closer to the turret here, but Canyon is just going to go rush bottom side here, and with this Nidalee pick, look to maybe set up for double objective here. And Oner hasn't hit level 6 just yet. He used his flash on that last play along with Faker.
Max range Q, and now the all out here on Zeus. This is going to force the Slicing Maelstrom. As we still have Exhaust, he really wants to run him down here, and another Q3 will have to be flashed. As in he goes again. Jeez, man. Keen really wants to get this punished, but here's Oner, level 5, and not really able to do much.
Getting the flash and the ult away from Zeus, not too insignificant, but Keen would have wanted a little bit more there. Just going to allow Oner to go over and take these Krugs away. Dragon actually not secured by Gen G with Keria returning to lane. They didn't actually hold on to that prio. Chovy ended up losing control of mid as well, as Keen tries to make this topside play. Finds himself empty there as Oner hits level 6 now off of the Krugs. This is a scary moment here when Vi hits 6. Everyone needs to be on the alert. Chovy does have a significant CS advantage despite Faker pushing that wave in. He actually is pulling up to almost 20 CS advantage, and the wave's in a horrible spot here for Faker.
Yeah. I thought that actually Keen would pull the wave towards his turret because he had a big health advantage, and also both top laners don't have TP, so I feel like he really could have punished Zeus more, but instead he wants to get the fast back. And it's actually because they want to go for a bit of a lane swap right now.
Yeah, I think that's a very good read here from Gen G. Chovy is really just making Faker frustrated. Faker wants to trade here, maybe look for an ult all in, but Valkyrie is a powerful tool. Zeus, remember, doesn't have his ult back, doesn't have flash here, should be fine. Canyon was seen by a ward. Man, this game feels like it's on a knife's edge. I mean, look at the gold, so even. Really, the gold that Chovy has that keeps Gen G in a good position here, but they weren't able to get the Dragon. Obviously, that kill going over to Canyon as well. That's where his lead is.
Yeah, and both of these AD carries about to start picking up some turret plates here. We'll see how this does go as Keen on the Cassante, no exhaust anymore. There's 3 people down, but Canyon has made his way down here as well, trying to stop the dive, and this is very dangerous against a Cassante. And look at Keen just getting away from the Q, and Keria is just left for dead. He's just gone. There's nothing that Guma and Oner can do about it, just a failed dive from T1.
Yeah, and look at the top lane. FaZe is getting pressure on those plates. There's no answer here. Zeus rotating down is completely gone, so FaZe gets free plates here on the top side. T1 fail a dive and give a second kill to Canyon. And even with the lane swap protection, FaZe is going to get a lot done here in this top lane. And if that's all he gets, still a huge win. And you see Keen has also caught up in terms of CS. He was significantly behind against the Kennen moments ago. Now it's pretty even. T1 not able to get enough control of the bottom lane to start this breakup. If that dive works, maybe they rotate Faker in. They can actually take that dragon, but instead we're 10 minutes in, no Drake take. Bit of a disaster in the bottom lane for that play. Still a relatively even game, but Gen G, for the moment, feeling very happy with their Fed in Italy.
Absolutely. This time around, it feels different. You know, we had a very even game in game one up until like 20 minutes, it felt like, and then eventually T1 started to gain a lead. But this time, Gen G are getting us started much earlier with some very nice map plays just to move around and get as much gold onto FaZe as possible, honestly. They're like, okay, we want to get him the plates. We're going to send Canyon down bot so that Keen is safe. And it just gets your gold in the right places. Meanwhile, trying to get a little bit extra as Faker in a rough spot, but he will be able to just dash away as he is to 0.
That's more plates for FaZe, you know, +1. Going to be +2 at least, maybe even 3 here with Canyon helping out. And
yeah, he's like, give me some of that.
And Faker is behind so much in farm. Now not farming here is going to teleport mid. Chovy will have teleport advantage, can continue to put the pressure on. So they're losing out in mid, they're losing out in bottom. And Keen has stemmed the bleeding in the top lane. It's just such a huge lead here now for Gen G in terms of map control as well, and what it means in terms of denial here. Guma will be able to get some of the CS here. It looks like the last 4 will go to him. He actually still has a CS lead, but the plate gold going over feels so nice for FaZe. 4 in total for him across both lanes.
Yeah, not to mention that, you know, T1 did get the second set of grubs, but it was a Hextech Drake and the first set of grubs that went the way of Gen G, so they're really controlling a lot here. I think it's very scary that Canyon is so far ahead as well with 2 kills.
Look at Chovy. Faker TPs to mid. Chovy trades with him, forces him to back. He grabs Nasher's Tooth, but Chovy's going to get another plate as well in mid lane as the Azir is gone.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's getting nothing out of that one. Chovy is the winner of this one. Hasn't backed for a while. Just still sitting on his tier to a Nasher's Tooth, but you look at the amount of gold he's picked up on minions alone. I mean, it's like that old Rise CS hack meme. He had like 470 CS. He was almost Flame Rising, if not Flame Rising last game as well.
Yeah.
On the Zeri. Crazy stuff as FaZe left alone for a moment here. Difficult to punish, though. He has Barrier Flash and, of course, his ultimate, and he'll clear this wave quickly enough.
Actually going to get a hook there, but doesn't quite matter. As you mentioned, Zeri, pretty annoying to deal with and pretty difficult to dive, especially when she has that wave clear. As it does look like, you know, Zeus is still going to be able to put on some pressure up in that top lane, at least. And so T1 have that lane going well for them, but everything else not so great as Gen Z are really punishing them, trying to get in here, but now it's actually Canyon who's going to get Feathers dragged back, and now FaZe is in a lot of trouble. Barrier not going to help him out as T1 call the bluff on the bottom side and come up big.
Finally, T1 are able to make this bottom side play work. They get Canyon first, then turn on to FaZe, who's jungleless. And Lehen's not able to help out there. Canyon not going to be able to offer any defensive CC. Very squishy, even though he's got 2 kills. And a Leandries, that's not going to help you out when a Vi gets on top of you. So great read here from T1. The Vizaya pick working out in terms of layering CC. Lots of damage here. So Lehen's, unfortunately, is just going to be catching what little of this he can. We'll stop a back, perhaps. And small consolation here. But, man, a big swing back here by T1. They actually take the gold lead. As you can see how this all shakes up, Lehen's Hex flashes the wall and goes in on the Keria, which leaves, I mean, it's not a great target, to be honest, and Canyon just follows up into the CC. Very bizarre choice, and then FaZe is just left out to dry. Lehen's can do nothing to assist. He used his combo just moments before.
Trying to make a play up here on the top side. That spear looks like it missed, but it might not matter. Zeus is extremely low, does flash the wall. Remember, Keen doesn't have his flash, but he's Kasante just goes through the wall and takes him down.
How do you like this mobility creep? I don't need flash. You said it, fellas. He doesn't need flash. He doesn't want that.
Kasante is it's an enigma. He does whatever he wants. Meanwhile, though, T1 are getting this bottom turret, so there is that.
Yeah, Chovy's been taking all the farm in mid. FaZe has been trying to get farm in bottom. I think we might have to have a little switcheroo on that as this turret goes down. Will be the first turret going to T1, so maintaining their gold lead. Keen will, of course, eventually be able to trade that back here in the top side. Zeus has teleport. But it's a risky call to go for it here with potentially Canyon being nearby, and he is, in fact, nearby. So a little bit of farm denied. It's a very close game, but I think a big factor here is that the Azir picked up a kill, so even though he's down 30 CS, that's somewhat mitigated. The Xayah is very ahead, and Paze has been kind of forced out of the game, and it feels like it's been a while since we've seen Paze actually kind of get forced out on his Zeri to where he ends up falling behind, isn't going to have the same agency. Keen using the exhaust here, the Q3 puts him into the long wall range, perfectly Cassante there. I mean, we joke about Cassante, but it was very well played there by Keen. The angle he takes with the Q3, pushing him into the long wall there. Great understanding of the champ.
Yeah, he's just really good at utilizing the very overpowered kits. That is Cassante.
We have a lot of top laners who are good at that, but I feel like he might be the best one.
He definitely is. He's had some really flashy moments on the pick as well. You remember like the 1v4 play from him. That's the one that always stands out in my mind. And, you know, he picked it in game 1. Looked great on it. Well, maybe
in the end of the
maybe not great, yeah. Did get a vote in the POG. Lehens does have Unbreakable Will, but he doesn't want to use it. He's going to really try to save it until the very end, and he's just going to die instead.
Well, I mean,
okay,
it's a long cooldown.
Yeah, not as long as Flash.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Trading flashes with Faker, calculated?
I mean, look, there's not much saving that one, unfortunately, for Lehens, but he has Hex Flash. They're going to get a turret, it looks like, the inner here in trade for this. It's Chemtech Soul, so, you know, I mean, losing a dragon doesn't feel too bad.
Yeah. There are a decent amount of shields in this game, but they're small shields. I feel like the percentage game is not going to help out too much.
The tenacity will feel pretty good for T1's comp, I would say.
You got some healing for the middle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're trying to get an engage going on. Oner here is in a bit of trouble, and this Alistar's getting some huge dividends. Lehens actually saving that Unbreakable Will. Doesn't actually do anything. Meanwhile, Keen is in the base. He is in T1's base, and he does not care. And he's going to fight under the turret. Look at this. What is happening here?
Doesn't have his exhaust back, so can't actually turn this into a kill, but there's been a little bit of Genji accidentally going into enemy teams' bases recently, and this one goes a lot better than what happened with Paze.
Viper too? Okay, well that was, yeah, that wasn't it, and he might die, as now he doesn't have a dash. Here's Oner trying to save him, and you know what? Maybe we'll be able to, as now it's just Oner going to give his life for him. Nearly takes out Canyon, one hit. Might have done it, but yeah, that was a cover your eyes moment, as now T1 trying to close the gap here on a Canyon, as they did go pretty deep for that kill, but it's just a trade of kills, and meanwhile you're losing your top turret and your mid turret.
And you got teleport out of Zeus, and you had to make this teleport happen to go bottom side to trade a kill, but maybe you should have just been, I don't want to say happy with the L, but I think the losing somebody, losing Oner, and then you know, just kind of defending your turrets might have been better than losing half of an inhibitor turret and a ton of gold on the cannon because the wave was just tossed into the turret, as well as you know, losing that mid turret as well. Now Lehens, you know, this moment, he really didn't want to use his ult. We've been through this. We went over it. Faker, the good punish, does have to flash to follow. And that means he doesn't have flash here, which ends up being significant. And
all calculated.
Yeah, they're aware of it. So and Faker trying to shield the spear, and then
he tried to dodge it, but he was late.
Yeah, I don't.
And it just looked very silly.
It looked silly. Unfortunately, Oner will have to die for this. They commit the teleport of the cannon down, but look at where it goes. It's up to the top part, so it takes him a little longer to come down here and chase. Doesn't have ult, so Chovy is trying to walk it off here. Canyon will end up getting stunned and killed, but Chovy has Valkyrie. It's a trade, though, of half of the inhibitor turret's health and that mid turret going down as well. So a lot of gold going over to Genji in exchange. You can see they've moved it up to 1,000 gold to lead here. I mean, Pei's still behind, but if he can weather the storm here, he still will be Zeri the later parts of this game. This big Cassante is going to be a great frontline for the double AD carry, and Corki is not behind.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Genji as well, is that you never know who's going to carry the game. Like, oftentimes recently it's been Paze, right? He's playing Ezreal, it's 80 carries that are OP, he's a fantastic Zeri player, etc. But in this game, it might just be a little bit of Cassante, Keen, and, you know, Keen Sante and Chovy Chorky in the mid lane, and a little bit of everybody else sprinkled in there.
I mean, right now they're doing a lot of damage to turrets, as we saw that graphic earlier, and then Chovy gets the bottom turret. He's now hit his 2-item spike off of that play. I mean, T1 unfortunately is getting run around the map completely here. So even though they get that trade back kill and the Xayah has IE sitting on 2 items, Pays also has 2 items, not as strong, arguably, at this point, but the Static Shiv is buffed and much stronger than it used to be. And with the Immortal Shield Bow, a little bit of extra added safety, this is still a big spike for Gen.G as well. And there's not a lot of safety here on the map for T1 to run back to. For example, both turrets being gone here in the top lane means that if we tussle for Baron, T1 try to do their classic Baron and turn, and it doesn't work out and they need to run away. There's no safety there. It might get punished. It might get run down. Very scary. There's not much left to take on the map, so Gen.G is just going to drop this Rift Herald to the top lane, and maybe it'll charge on an inhibitor later. It's like so far away. Like T1, calculate when you need to respond to this. It's going to take a while.
Faker's just going to stand there. I mean, Oner is nearby as well, just to keep Faker safe in case he tries to dodge any other Nidalee spears. Nidalee, as we know, is nowhere near. And yeah, it just feels like T1 are just hibernating for the winter. You know, they're just waiting until the flowers start to come out again, and especially because it is a Chemtech Soul. Gen.G might just take all 3, and T1 might just be like, okay, well, let's fight you on the Elder. We'll see when they want to make a play for an objective, but for now it feels like Gen.G are just in major control of the map.
They have full prio. Faker does have TP and did clear the Herald. Kennen, TP coming up soon. There's no flank ward really for Kennen to use those. AS is going to struggle to actually get a big flank off here and get high value. Faker goes mid. They want to contest for prio, maybe set up a Sundisk. But it is a really rough spot here to try to close the gap here for T1 on this low-range Xayah.
Yeah. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that they're fighting so hard for this Drake. It feels like every Drake fight between these 2 teams, even in the first game over the Ocean Drakes, that one made a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah, I feel like in this scenario, there's not much they could do to trade. They're not going to be able to get away with this Baron sneak or anything like that. And with the wave pushing top, Faker couldn't go for the top turret. There's no bottom turret to push. Mid turret, not really accessible with Gen.G having this much prio, so there isn't really a great choice to make, but committing the teleport there from Faker, just kind of watch them lose prio, doesn't feel ideal. There's that ward on the Baron. Oner's clearing some vision here, but Gen.G just has so much control. There isn't a great choice to make. And now Faker is finally going to go up here and maybe start to threaten this top turret. It's very healthy.
There's a lot of pings on Baron right now from the blue team. Yeah. Making me a bit worried.
I just don't think you can. I mean, Zeus has TP. He can come over there and maybe help you turn. But again, I mean, Faker went Nashor's Tooth and now is itemizing, you know, he went for the Seeker's Arm Guard. So it's not like he's sitting on a Leandri's Nashor's worth of Baron damage right now. So I just don't think it's reasonable. They can maybe force Gen.G to respond and contest vision. And that's what they can do. But again, no other real objective for T1 to push right now. They're just kind of sitting back and farming, as you said. And luckily for them, it's Chemtech Soul. If this was, you know, Hextech Soul or Infernal Soul, you're feeling a lot more pressure to actually act and show up for those team fights.
Yeah. And all the while, their Xayah's getting fed, their Azir's getting fed. And they've got a lot of answers for the carries on the side of Gen.G. They have not only Vi, but also Nautilus. So if eventually, you know, the one issue I think is Cassante, right? They can deal with Nidalee, they can deal with Corki, they can deal with Zeri. As long as the fight engages are clean and they layer their CC well and we don't have the depth charge at the same time as the Vi ultimate, things should be good. But again, they have to have some clean team fights and they should be able to deal with some of those squishy carries.
Faker going for Void Staff here, you know, after the Arm Guard for some extra magic pen into, you know, 3 Merc Treads. The Cassante, who has a Rookern, I think is a pretty good tech, but it will be at the cost of some of that burn damage he could have otherwise had. And some of the safety that going straight to Zonios would have offered him, but when he has the Arm Guard, kind of a nice in-between here. Faker's Azir itemization, I feel like, has been so good this season, and he's been able to get a lot of value out of Stasis. But with this game state, it's going to be really tricky. You might just need it so desperately to actually set up for, you know, a game-changing play, because as is right now, you are stemming the bleeding, you are weathering the storm, you are scaling, but Gen.G are just not giving you back any map control. They're also scaling, you know?
Yeah.
Hayes is on 2.5 items, looking for his 3rd relatively soon. Your Xayah advantage that you had before, it's still there, but it means less the longer the game goes on.
We've talked about it many times before, but Gen.G are just so good at taking all the gold on the map and finding a way to get it all into their pockets in their advantage. From behind, from ahead, you know, they know how to push advantages, cut out vision, steal jungle camps, deny waves, stuff like that, and just get small gold leads. And even from behind, just finding a way to keep up and not fall too far behind.
Yeah,
has always been their thing. I feel like that's why they're so consistent as well.
They're so good at tracking where T1 are and where they can push their turret advantages. That's why it's 4-1 right now. The minds of Lehens and Canyon. And you've got such good reads on the map. All right, T1 now going to try to contest for some of this vision here, but feels very risky. Remember, Zeus doesn't have a teleport ward he can go to here to fight. So T1 are just going to get corralled out of their jungle now. Again, really grasping at straws. Without any map control, it's tough for Faker to even push that topside turret. And I think against a weaker team, he hard forces that, and then they collapse onto whoever tries to come to punish. That's kind of the T1 MO, but Faker's not even going to chance it here in this one. You know, against a 2-item Corki on his spike. Tough for him to actually win that matchup hard enough, and then he can collapse very quickly. Keen does have his TP. Trying to get something done here, down a level. He's just sitting on, unfortunately, kind of like 1 and 2 halves of an item, but not actually really that second item he needs.
Yeah, he's desperately trying to hit that Void Staff, and looks like maybe he'll pick it up here. And we very much slowly dipped into the lull state, both of the teams, as we mentioned before, just kind of hanging out. They say, okay, we got Chemtech Drakes coming up, but we're not going to set up huge fights over those. Even T1 committing a TP to the last Chemtech fight, and then they just said, never mind, and now Faker's got TP back. So it didn't actually mean anything in the grand scheme of this game, as we're just kind of hanging out and farming.
The real question now becomes, like, which team wins the team fight later? When the gold is, it's still in Genji's advantage, but it's only 2.3k. You know, the Xayah is on 3 items too. Runins is now finished for Pays. And I think that for T1, if you can get a pick and you layer that CC, that's how you win the team fight, and Xayah can clean up. All you need is 1 kill. It doesn't matter who it is. Even if you kill Lehens, it gets a lot easier. For Genji, it's just weathering that engage, and then Pays and Chovy clean up, right? And Canyon obviously can heal. They have a lot of sustain. And T1 has to strike first. You know, it's really difficult for them to actually go into a team fight where somebody gets caught and then turn it after they lose someone, because their team comp is reliant on all the pieces working together. And once again, they're just going to put 2 solo laners in the same lane to get a turret. Like, Genji's does this. They're like, no, it's solo lane, it's a duo lane. We actually get the turret. A double TP to Baron, calling your bluff.
Yeah. And this is what it will force, but Genji are okay with that because they push their lead even farther, and they say, okay, we won't have TP, but we don't necessarily need it. And now it's actually Oner who's kind of getting corralled out of this one, as, of course, Zeus held on to his TP. So T1 have teleport advantage, but what does it get you, you know, from behind? That's really what T1 need to figure out right now.
Yeah, and Genji are saying, you want Chemtech bottom, we're all top, we double TP, you have no vision here. Kennen can't teleport anywhere topside here. Keen is holding the door here, misses the engage there. Keria and Genji looking to turn.
Yeah, they want to fight. And here we go, level 16, Cassandra. That's a huge amount of damage from the Xayah and Kennen, as Exhaust going to be used. Keria trying to punish, not going to catch him. And so Keen kind of finding out the amount of damage that T1 does have when they engage, but now Lehens gets in there, and Oner in a bit of a rough spot as in goes Faker. He's going to get the drop on a Pays as they throw everything into the Zeri. That is a huge catch, but now Faker will go down, and Lehens is kiting this one out, and he will be able to headbutt to potentially survive as well. Look at the health bars here on Zeus and Keria. They are so low, and they're getting poked out, and there's not much they can do except run from here.
Yeah, Zeus, no flash here, really tough to make anything happen. Gumayusi is really the main character here. If T1 were ever to get something done here, might even try to look for a backstop. He's going to blast cone in.
Okay, he's going in. Didn't think that Cassante was nearby, and, well, he found out that he was, and now he's dead. Flash is gone, and Keen still doesn't need flash, because he's Cassante.
I mean, it was so close to being that team fight I was talking about. You almost got the pick onto Lehens. He gets out, but then you get Pays, but it's in big trade there. Faker going down. You don't have enough damage to follow up. Xayah solo range, and then he just decides, like, I'm the only Fed member, I have to do something, but it wasn't the right call there with the Cassante standing by. He just didn't have the right read. There's no Baron take, but it will be Genji getting soul point here, and every little bit helps. I mean, all the extra healing, the extra tenacity, but these are small things that will matter, but it's not the game-ending take. It's just how this fight breaks out, because Oner has to defensively ult here, and Faker still catches Pays. He makes the heroic play, utilizes that arm guard that we talked about so much, but then he's just completely isolated, because with Unbroken Will, Lehens can just stand in front of everybody else and tank it up, and then the front to back gets really tricky with Guma being so low. And I guess just with the Scryers thought that...
the plant,
we just thought Keen, if he was there, he would have been hit by the Scryers. He wasn't. He had a control ward in there, and Scryers just misses him, and I guess misread there from Guma is going to cost him his flash on an already low-range AD carry. At least he's got his ult, but he feels rough.
You take a look at what they get from the two Chemtech Drakes. 12% tenacity, which was recently taken away from some items and runes and stuff like that. And also, you know, the Cassante has massive shields, actually, even with the Recurn. And to talk about Cassante a little bit more, he didn't have Randuin's in the last fight. Now he does. So that Xayah going to hurt a lot less. And already Keen is extremely tanky.
Yeah. You can see T1 are dropping blue trinkets in here and, you know, saying, all right, well, they're not doing that. We better back off because they're right in our jungle, and they've put some deep aggressive control wards here. T1 fighting for vision of their blue buff, which is taken away. This is Genji's oppressive composition here. And they know the one way they can mess this up is if they just took a greedy Baron here when they're not quite ready to. They need a little bit more control before they can do that, so they're just making T1 check, keeping them honest. Blue trinkets down, and it's like, well, T1, are you going to face check? Keeping the Scryer's Bloom up, checking all vision, no wards, nothing. Here for T1, completely blind.
Yeah, they have like one blue trinket in their own jungle, which was just pinged, by the way.
Yep.
And they're just going to start Baron. And they can 2-mana with Corki and Nidalee, and then eventually have the rest of the team come over, and there's just zero vision. I mean, T1, they're just going to have to send it, but they're too late. They're backing.
You can't even engage on Lehens. He's got ult, he's got flash. Like, Oner is just going to take the Constellation Gromp in this case, and T1 just could not come in. They couldn't do anything. Oppressive vision control, no way to face check, and they just give up the Baron because there's really no right choice. But nobody's side laning either. No, it's too risky to push that top turret, which has been alive and it's basically full health for the whole time. Bounty's now up. No bottom turret to push on the opposite side of the map. T1 almost checkmated in this game, it feels like.
Uh-oh, the Xayah gets engaged on. There's the Featherstorm. That's early as now Lehens. Faker looking for it, just going on a crazy race way. I don't even know what that was. Meanwhile, Oner goes down, and Lehens is going to find another one. Finds the Kennen here. Nice Zhonya's, actually. A lot of damage into Pace, who will go down. And that might actually stop the push for now.
That kind of saves the inhibitor, may have saved the game, because if they end up losing more people there.
They're sticking around, though.
Yeah, Guma, no ult.
Oh my god! What was that?
Bye-bye!
What was that damage?
I mean, that's some big quirky damage right there.
Was there a spear in that as well? There had to have been.
I think there was, yeah. And the RFC, i.e., everything hurts.
Well, the game might just be over now.
It is now, I think.
They fake back, and Faker's down. Zhonya's can only save you so many times, and that spear is going to land, and that might just be GG, as with the Baron. Rival Baron power play push coming on in. They're looking to end this game, and Gen.G, they almost lost the game today, but they did not. And in the end of the day, it is a relatively clean 2-0 win over T1 as they're playing with their food, who is Oner right now, and it will